of Indonesia presents Diplomatic Forum, a talk show analyzing strategic issues and global perspective.
From Indonesia to the world.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and also listeners, I would like to inform you that this Diplomatic Forum is also live broadcast on our YouTube at Voice Indonesia and also through Facebook, The Voice of Indonesia. And it also can be accessed through streaming. And you can also join this program by sending your comments and questions via our Facebook fan page, Voice of Indonesia and The Voice of Indonesia. And now I would like to invite our honorable guests for this forum. First, I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Gustavo Ayares, the Ambassador of Chile to Indonesia. Please come to the stage. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you can take this seat.
Okay.
And also I'd like to invite Mr. Indra Dramawan, the Director of Regional Promotion Facilitation, Indonesian Investment Coordinating Board, BKPM. Welcome, Pak. And Mr. Jonori Alimin, Head of Sub-Directorate of Economy and Development, Directorate of Public Diplomacy, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Comes to the stage, Pak. And the last one, Mr. Bima Yudhistira Adi Negara, researcher at the Institute for Development of Economics and Finance, INDEF. Selamat datang, Pak Bima. Well, ladies and gentlemen, global economic uncertainty overshadows almost all countries in the world. Global economic uncertainty is the main challenge in running the world economy, including Indonesia, of course. And uncertainty in the global economy is hampering the economic growth. Global economic growth continues to be revised downward. Some say next year we only have below 4. That's right, Pak Bima? Yes. And President Jokowi in the second period of his administration has anticipated the impact of global economic uncertainty, and one of them is through diplomacy and foreign policy. Economic diplomacy is one of the focuses given by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to anticipate the impact of the weakening of global economy. So, what is Indonesia's economic diplomacy like? We will discuss this with our honorable speakers for today. But before that, let's listen to our listeners' opinions about Indonesia's economic relations with other countries. And we have Abdul Qadir Khalil Akas from Algeria and also Muhammad Akil Bashir from Pakistan. And here's the video.
Assalamu alaikum. It's Abdul Qadir Khalil from Wergla city in the south of Algeria country, in the south of Africa. Frankly, I did not see any Indonesia project in my city. Maybe the Indonesia project have developed in other city because the relation between my country Algeria and Indonesia, it's very good. I hope in the future we can buy Indonesia projects in Algeria. I hope the next time will be the exchange in by export and import products between Algeria and Indonesia. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Akil Bashir. I am from Pakistan. The name of my club is Pak Listeners Club, Jhan. I am also member of International Radio Listeners Organization of Pakistan. Here I want to share some information regarding trade between Indonesia and Pakistan. As we know, Indonesia is the largest country regarding population in the Muslim world. Trade between two countries is called international trade. Last year, President of Indonesia visited Pakistan. Both sides agreed to maintain close high-level exchanges. In 2018, trade volume between Pakistan and Indonesia stands at 2.5 billion. It is a huge investment from both sides. I hope, inshallah, in coming future, both countries will enhance and increase this volume. I am also thankful to Voice of Indonesia English Service for giving me a chance to share my information with you. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.
Okay, that's two listeners of Voice of Indonesia. One is from Algeria and the other one is from Pakistan. And there is hope that in Algeria, they could buy Indonesian products in their country. And from Pakistan, there is also hope that Indonesia and Pakistan increase their trade relationship. But before we discuss that, I'll come to Mr. Bima, Pak Bima first. Yeah, Pak Bima. So what is the real condition of Indonesia's economy today?
Yeah, we predict in 2020 our economic growth will be 4.8%, but not below 4%. Still 4.8 to 5% economic growth. I think we still rely more in the consumption, domestic consumption. That's our engine of the growth until 2020, until 2021 onwards, because we see we have some challenges in the global economy or global market, uncertainty in the commodity price. We've seen the CPO price, coal price, even rubber price still low until today.
Yes.
And then we see some uncertainty due to the trade war between the US and China. And we see very cautious about 2020 because 2020 is the US election. If Donald Trump will be win again, will be change the shape of the trade war. Maybe it will be longer. We have trade war with China, US and China, and it's impacting a lot of the export and some of the foreign direct investment. But we see some opportunity. If we look from the trade war, we see the data that there is an increase export to the US market. Yes. Because China price of the product, some of the product is increasing due to the tariff, the price. So they changed the production base to some Southeast Asian countries. So our export, for instance, textiles and then food and beverage to US market is still quite huge. But on the other hand, we see some challenge because China flooding our market with their import. So there's like consequence between the opportunity and challenge due to trade war. But I'm sure that we see from the Algeria friends and from Middle East, right? So we see some opportunity to look not only the US and China market because there's in the turbulence. We see some alternative market is still growing for Indonesia product. We're happy that our state-owned enterprise, for instance, they're sending a lot of airplane to some African countries. And then some of the train or locomotive to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. So a lot of diversification that we need to increase our momentum. So this is the right momentum to expand to the alternative market, not only the traditional one.
Okay, Pak Bima, 4.8%. Don't you think it is too optimistic based on the situation in Europe at this time,
Right.
in America, and even in ASEAN?
Right. If we compare to the developed market, for instance, the U.S. economic growth is, we don't think, more than 3% next year. And we also see some Japanese economic growth is also below 1%. And our neighbor, like Singapore and Hong Kong, same Asian countries, they suffer minus economic growth.
Minus or zero, right.
So Indonesia 4.8% in 2020, I think still relatively strong because we are not export oriented. We still domestic consumption. And if we look detail for the direct investment, we divided foreign and domestic direct investment. The domestic direct investment is still very, very strong, supported by the state-owned enterprise infrastructure project. So although there's a changing of the macroeconomic landscape in the global because of the turbulence, we still have still strong economic growth in 2020. But 4.8% of course is not enough, because our neighbor also like Vietnam,
yes.
still like a 6% above. Philippines also 6% above. So we need to catch up. We don't want to be like racing with our neighbor like Vietnam and Philippines, and we left behind because our economic growth is only 4.8%. So compare with the developed countries, Indonesia perform much better, but compare with the other Asian countries, we need to catch up.
Yes, okay. So what are the challenges, the economic challenge for 2020?
Some of the challenge, most of them is the global uncertainty, already said before, but we also see some of the fiscal challenge we have in Indonesia because our revenue or tax revenue income, the target and realization is far below the target, right? So to 2018, we have tax revenue growth more than 16%, but right now, until October to 2019, only growth is 0.6%. So it's like a changing in the fiscal space, and if the government need to expand more or cutting the deficit, there will be like a huge implication to the domestic consumption. Healthcare, insurance will be increased, fuel subsidies will be cut, so there will be like a consequence in the domestic consumption in the next year. Hopefully, the government need to rethink again the strategy to manage the fiscal deficit.
Okay, there are challenges and the government needs to rethink again. So Pak Indra, so it has been clear the instructions from the Mr. President, Pak Jokowi. So regarding the economic diplomacy, of course, so what is the portion of Indonesia's coordinating board or BKPM in this matter?
The role of the... Yes, I think the role, talking about the role for the investment board like us, is to improve the condition of the economic conditions by way of improving the investment. Both inviting the foreign direct investment coming in to Indonesia, as well as promoting the Indonesian business to invest abroad. Currently, the pictures of the investment from the point of view of PMA, the foreign direct investment coming in, is still quite acceptable. Last year was tough year. Last year we experienced contractions of around 8% of FDI coming into Indonesia. Before,
8%? Yeah, 8%.
That was before elections.
Okay.
But after the election, we see some rebound and recovery in the foreign direct investment figures, jumping up to now in the quarter on the third quarters we recorded around 12% growth. If we have a look at the third quarter figures only, the growth from the previous period is even 17%. So the first 9 months of this year, the FDI figures have already reached 75% of targets. So it's on track. But like Pak Bima said, it's not enough. In the national account figures, the growth of the investment is still pretty much not satisfactory. The current number from the BPS is recorded around 4.2, is far below the last year of around 6.8, something like that. So if we can increase on a national basis the improvement in investment, that will add quite substantially to the national income. So yes, 4.8. But we talk about the range now, 4.8 to 5%.
Yes.
We've been stubbornly stuck in 5%.
5%.
In 5%.
Okay.
But you can see from the other angle that that is the proof that Indonesia is quite resilient compared to other countries. The neighboring countries, have a look at that. Like Thailand now is in the range of 2% from the 3% before. The Vietnam, the star of the region, have gone down from around the 7 level to 6 level. Singapore is probably close to 0.
Yes.
Something like that. So yes, Indonesia is pretty much in a good shape now, with even with 4.8.
Okay. So 4.5 is a good shape, right?
Yeah, comparatively.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Indra. How do you assess the visit of Presiden Jokowi Widodo's and entourage to Busan at this time to, increase investment or even can contribute to our economic growth?
The recent visit to Busan is one of the successful event and quite of success story too, where the automotive giants of Korea declare officially that they will invest around 1.5 billion US dollars, above the expectation. Before we only predict around 1 billion, and in the end it turned out to be 1.5. It is basically quite a good news, and there is also an inspiration for other Korean companies to come to Indonesia. That is also happening in the light of the recently signed Indonesia-Korea CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement,
Yes.
which for quite some time has been deadlocked for, I think it's more than 4 years,
Yes.
more than 5 years. Now with the planned visit a couple of months ago, we suddenly see the appetite of the Korean towards increasing cooperation with Indonesia is improving.
Okay.
They quickly sign the agreements to our surprise. To our surprise, and after that, followed by the announcement of mega projects. This shows that Indonesia is still pretty attractive place to invest, even though we see a very tough competition from the neighboring countries.
We got 1.5 billion investment from Korea, right? So it's already on the target?
Yes, it is. We still have a lot more in the pipeline. Let me share you this one figures. We have around 21 big project which is currently existing but not yet realized, and the amount is around 700 trillions. That's around
$700 trillion.
yeah. That's around 58 billion US dollar, right?
Yeah.
From 21 mega projects.
Mm-hmm.
The recent chairmanship of Mr. Bahlil, he's been in the office for less than a month,
Yes.
and already we solved 3 of them.
From 21.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is really some quite of inspiration also for us and for other investor, because of Indonesia is definitely not a paradise for investment, as you know, to be honest, compared to other neighbors. But this type of news is really showing us that something can be done.
Okay, something can be done.
Something can still be done.
Okay.
Biggest problem in Indonesia are threefold. First is regulation.
Okay, but I will make it deeper later. Something can
Yeah,
be
sure.
done. Okay.
Right.
I'll come to Ambassador IRS. So, if just now we have listened, what are the challenges faced by Indonesia in terms of its economy? So, what about your country? What challenges are you facing?
Well, first of all, I would like to send a warmest greeting from Chile to you, to listeners and the people here. Actually, it's a very interesting question because we have been doing a global trade partner from 30 years. So Chile, it's a very open economy from the late 80s. Just for giving you very few examples, we are the biggest producer of copper in the world. Essential for anything. Our main market is China. We are the second producer of salmon in the world after Norway. We are the first exporter of cherries in the world. Our wine is very well known everywhere. Just think that we are a very long strip country in the South America, 17 million people, less than Jakarta. So we have a very open economy. What are the expectations now? When you get some level, it's even more difficult to grow. This is already studied in academia, the middle income trap. That is our challenge, because when you nowadays we have a per capita income of $24,000.
Sorry?
$24,000. It's the highest in Latin America.
Yes.
So challenges, you know, how you cope the expectation of the people. You know, inequality is still a huge gap that you must fill. Secondly, aging population. We are suffering the same phenomenon like in Japan and other countries in the world. How we connect the young generation in order to be ready for the solution when including myself, you know, we are out of the work of labor. So we have many different options. Our experience is that open economy has been the main tool to tackle poverty. If you take our numbers from the 80s till now, during the 80s we had 30% of the population poor, and extremely poor 7 or 8%. Now we have less than 7%. So our numbers are very much related with trade. You know, this is the only way to understand. And we have been learning from the best, you know. When we opened our economy, we were the very first country that signed a CHEPA with Korea 15 years ago.
Sorry, 15?
15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Yeah. And Korea at that time was recently to open to the world trade, and we were the very first country that was signing CHEPA. So nowadays, just for giving just examples, the challenges are huge, not just because of the trade war, because now, what is next? Still going with the commodities. You produce coal, gas, we produce copper, or maybe we can think that the commodity cycle is already ending, and we must think about it to upper level, to put some innovation, add value. We must think about it in the next step of trade, because if we think in Chile, still just selling copper, salmon, wine, we are lost. And you have very good examples. You have 5 unicorns. In Latin America, we have none.
Okay.
So this is a huge difference. You have, you know, a young population that is growing and will be, you know, the driving force for Indonesia next year. So those guys need to be open to the economy. So I'm very pleased to hear that when President Jokowi says, well, we need to open the economy, we need to decrease our regulation. Actually, today was a huge article in Jakarta Post saying that you will be in charge, the agency, to diminish the regulation. So for me, it's like music in my ears. You know, President Jokowi will speak the same language that we are moving, because we are strongly believe that in Indonesia and Chile, we believe in 3B. This is my own concept. Be global, be inclusive, and be innovative.
Okay. Thank you. Be global, be inclusive, be innovative. Okay, good. Now I will go to Pak Juneri. Pak Juneri, can you please tell us the director of business, director of business regarding the economic diplomacy that of course, that President Jokowi instruct foreign ministries and also trade ministries and other ministries.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Pane. Good morning, the audiences. I'm from the Directorate of Public Diplomacy. Let me tell you that public diplomacy is under the Directorate of Information and Public Diplomacy. Public Diplomacy Directorate has 5 divisions. Yeah, the first one is politics and security, cultural and social, Indonesia, diaspora environment, and actual issues, and the last one is economic that we are discussing today. Let's talk about economic in public diplomacy. This division play roles. Its role as how to use soft diplomacy to gain economic benefits through its programs. Let's say we use manpower, we can use culture, we can use food to make it as a soft diplomacy to gain something, but don't forget it should be with benefit impact.
Okay, so what is the benefit impact here?
Benefit impact something that can bring economic credit through this program. For example, we promote food in diplomacy. We organize an event. We offer Indonesian food, gastronomy abroad. But don't forget, from this one, the foreigner outside will taste this food, and the behind agenda, we will enlarge our gastronomy business abroad.
Okay.
So we give and we take it back.
Give and take it back. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will come to the next segment, but after this one.
This diplomatic forum is brought to you by Voice of Indonesia.
From Indonesia to the world.
Well, listeners and ladies and gentlemen, you are still with us, Diplomatic Forum, broadcast live. And I would like to announce and inform you that we are live on YouTube and also Facebook. And our listeners from Pakistan says hello to us, Akil Basir, from Pakistan. Hello, Akil Basir, how are you? Thank you for being with us. And also David Luresia from Argentina. Okay, he's also watching this program. And there are some listeners also are watching our streaming. Okay, so back to Pak Indra. Yeah, Pak Indra, there are some countries that have always been in the top investment position in Indonesia. There are, okay? Not to mention how to encourage other countries to increase their investment here in Indonesia, because we have, new growing countries. And you said before that Indonesia is not a heaven, of course, for investors, but we have to do something. So they are interested to come here. So, but before that, what countries that the thing we need to persuade to come to Indonesia to invest?
Yeah, thank you. for the last 10 to maybe 15 years, the East Asian countries are the biggest investor to Indonesia.
East Asia.
East Asian.
Is that Japan and Korea?
Yes, the first one is Singapore. But if you look at the numbers from Singapore, you have to understand that they might use Singapore as a third country to enter Indonesia. They might be Canadians, they might be Germans, they might be Indonesians who set up office in Singapore and then enter Indonesia as foreign company, right? So the second one is Japan.
Okay.
Our big brother for the last 30 years has been the biggest investor. The third one now is China. China is quite unique because China is not even on the top 5 3-4 years ago. So even 5 years ago, they're not even the top 10. So they're just coming in recently with their big investment in raw material processing and infrastructures, notably on the nickel ore processing, say in Sulawesi, for example. It's a multi-billion projects, and all of a sudden, with their presence, Indonesia becoming a major player in stainless steel productions after China, with their presence, all of a sudden. And also a big market and big potential for producing the lithium battery for electric vehicle. So the third one is probably we can mention South Korea.
Yes.
South Korea used to be the biggest number 3 before. Now it's being overtaken by China. So those are the traditional, biggest investor to Indonesia. We need to look at the other market, other non-traditional markets. Yes, EU might be a next candidate, even though Netherlands and UK are on the top 10, but Germany is not. France are not. Is not, and other countries like Spain, Portugal, Italy is also above. Well, beyond 10, beyond top 10. The other non-traditional market is Australia. We also need to keep an eye on them to increase our effort to entice them, to attract them to come. Also from Latin America.
Okay.
Yeah. American also is a big market for us. They also in the top 10, but mostly in the mining sectors. But as you know, we are now moving. We are very keen of moving from mining, from the primary sectors to more secondary and tertiary.
Okay, Pak Indra, China, you said it is unique. Even 10 years ago, they were not in the top 5 or top 10. So we know that some investors from German and other big investors in China already leave the country and move their investment to other countries, especially Vietnam, for example. So which part of why we cannot take some of the cakes from this investment to Indonesia?
Yeah, there are several reasons why they left. Most of them are corporate actions, and some of them also because of the competitiveness issues. In relation to Vietnam, we've seen a lot of analysis, lots of views and insights on how Vietnam becoming a success story in the regions. Even though, from my personal view, is Vietnam is a success story 10, 12 years in the making. So it is not only happening overnight. So they also have their own trajectories and stories until they become a successful and hot spot for investment these days. The relocation of industries from China also benefit Vietnam greatly compared to Indonesia. So Indonesia have to improve its positions in the competitiveness. And I think the key to this success, and Pak Jokowi is very much aware of this, is speed. Speed.
Okay.
I think this world is not belong to the biggest, to the fastest, to the biggest and to the richest. The world is belong to the fastest, to the quickest, to the fastest to respond, to change, the quickest to adapt to change. I think that's a recipe which Pak Jokowi also very much aware of it. And you know, in the 5 years of administration term, the effective years is only the first 3 years. So the 4th years and the 5th years is the political years. And data from 15 years shows us that from investment perspective, a year before investment, a year before election, usually the investment figure is going down. And a year after election, it's moving up again.
Okay.
So the real effective years for Indonesia is the first 3 years. That's why Pak Jokowi moved pretty fast. He called ministers for cabinet meeting almost every week or every 3 days, talking about investment, talking about bureaucratic reform, talking about economic reform, talking about fiscal reform, talking about manpower reform, almost every week.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think he understands the imperative of going quick.
Okay, so the quickest, the fastest will get the cakes. Okay, Fabio, I will ask you to your comment later, but I will go to Ambassador Ayers first. So, if Indonesia is seeking now non-traditional market for investment, so what do you do? I mean, the Chile to.
I think the analysis should be not just focused on a country. My understanding is that Indonesia is looking for new frontiers for enhanced investment trade. In the case of Latin America, Chile is a very small market, almost irrelevant, but it's not that you must lead to Latin America. Latin America in total, we are talking about 620 million people.
620, almost same with ASEAN population.
Roughly speaking, the Spanish is the second language after Chinese,
Yes.
worldwide spoken. So, what I'm trying to say, if you focus on a region and a country, you must consider that this should be considered a platform, a hub, how you connect Indonesia with the rest of Latin America. Just for giving you an example, in the case of Chile, Chile has a bilateral trade with Indonesia, 290 millions. It's nothing, because with Vietnam, we have over $1 billion. With Thailand, we have 1.2 billion bilateral trade. So 290 is nothing in comparison of the size of the economy. So what is the expectation? You must connect Latin America as a whole. Mercosur, Pacific Alliance, other things. Because also we must consider something that is very relevant to the trade. This called value chain, global value chain, meaning that how you transform your products with the new market.
Yes.
If I have trade agreement with USA, you can get your product there, your raw material, transform and re-export to USA, and the way around. For example, I have a very good friend of mine that is Indonesian entrepreneur. He got some seafood from Chile. Salmon seafood, special seafood, transform here and put it in the market in Spain. That's the way to doing business today, because if continue making the move just selling copper, gas, oil, we are lost.
Yes.
Because the world is the different direction. Yes, another example. We are one of the biggest producers of lithium. So lithium is essential for electromobility. Our main market is China. But we would like to see that the batteries also were built in Chile. Because otherwise, you just put it in a chip. Our lithium go to China and never see the way back, except when coming with the Huawei, telephone, and my lithium is there, but I don't get the money. That's the thing. When I said be inclusive, saying that we would like to see other actors of the economy, in my own perspective, gender equality is one of the challenges. To be inclusive with the people that will be out of work with the Industrial Revolution 4.0 mainly enforced. This is a challenge for all of us, Indonesia, Chile, whatever. This is the world that's coming. So how we project our society to be part of this economy.
Okay, thank you very much. Gender equalities. Okay, Pak Bima, I just want to make sure that what Pak Indra just said just now about speed, is that the only challenge that we face with Vietnam at this time?
One thing for sure, regulation, the speed of the regulation, ease of doing business is one of the important things. But the other, we must consider about the land clearing. This is the hardest problem we have, especially to attract investment in infrastructure project.
Okay.
We need like 5,000 trillion rupiah, right, for the investment in infrastructure project. This is the projection from 2019 to 2024. So actually, the land clearing takes a year, maybe more, only to build some kind of the road, airport, or a port. So that's a problem. In Vietnam, they even give a lease for the foreign investor for 99 years. Free or almost small size of the payment, right, for 90 years. So we don't have kind of the regulation. And the second thing is, I agree with the Chilean ambassador that we must think about the global value chain, and Indonesia is still in the primary, in the bottom level of the global value chain. So little of the value added we have. So we need to attract more, maybe not so high tech, but in the middle of the technology. So in Chile, you don't have any unicorn, for instance. We have five unicorns. Vietnam also don't have a big unicorn like us. Even our unicorn Gojek expand to Vietnam market, right? So we think that if we can see the future of Industry 4.0 and about the startup boomings, Indonesia is the fourth largest startup companies in the world, right? We just lose from India, China, and US in terms of the number of the startup. We have 2,000 startups in Indonesia. So if we want to attract investment, we must also consider about the region, what the region needs, what the American Latin needs, and also what the technology we can provide to invite them to have a cooperation in the high-tech business or in the startup business. Because in the next 5 years, we see some of the change. While the commodity price is still low, not many investors will be attracting to invest in the palm oil, for instance, or coal. They'll be investing more in the Gojek, in the Grab, in the Tokopedia. So the changing of the landscape of the economy also changed the way we promote the cooperation with the other regions. So that's the basic idea. We need to increase ourselves in the value of the global value chain.
So in your opinion, it is better to increase investment on those 5 unicorn or palm oil?
Palm oil, yeah, this is interesting.
Mr.
Right.
Ambassador.
Right, okay. Palm oil is very important in Indonesia economy. Around 50 million people or more is working in the palm oil sectors, right? But the problem is we have EU, which have many regulation to not banning all the palm oil product, but restrict some of the palm oil product.
Okay.
Even in the US market also, they're complaining about the Indonesia biodiesel export, right? But we see if we want to increase our value added in the palm oil industry, we can make another products which is not only for the food and beverage, and also how we provide more sustainable ways to farming our palm oil. Maybe we can still increase our palm oil export. But actually, in the short term, the quick win, if we want to choose about the palm oil and then the startup billion valuation of the startup, Me as a millennial, I want to see that the startup booming in Indonesia will be engine of the economic growth in the future.
Okay. Yeah, startups. Now I would like to invite the floor to raise question to the speakers, or just want to say comment to our speakers. Yeah, there's one there. So please mention your name and your organization. Thank you. And wow, it seems that we have something for
wow.
those who raise questions.
Amazing. Ini amazing or kejutan.
Yeah, very kejutan.
Ya,
Okay.
izin Pak. Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya, nama saya I'm Henny from Halal Tourism Market, Pasar Wisata Halal. I would like to question to His Excellency Gustav Ajares. Yes. What do you think about tourism sector of Chile could be collaborated in Indonesian tourism sector to increase economic both Chile and Indonesia? Thank you.
Only one question?
Only one.
Okay, thank you. You deserve to get this.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Terima
thank you very
kasih.
much for the question, because tourism is a new industry, not just in Indonesia, of course in Latin America. One of the things more complicated for my point of view is not just focus again in one country. You must be global in that sense. In Latin America, we must construct a circuit of tourism. So if the guy go to, like you said, the millennial, as typical example, if he wants to go to the Patagonia in Chile, also maybe we can be able to move them from Patagonia to the Peruvian, all structure, to the Brazilian Amazonas. So we must integrate tourism circuits. This is the only way to survive, because, in my own experience, I travel frequently to Chile. So the flight from my house in Indonesia to my house in Chile is 38 hours, so almost 2 days. So if you are planning in Chile thinking that I will receive some young fellows from Indonesia just coming to here, 40 hours drive, flying and go to Patagonia 1 week, flying back, no, you are lost. No, you are not understand anything.
Okay.
You must consider that maybe we can go to Patagonia, maybe we can go to Antarctica, maybe we can go to the desert area, and maybe we can jump to Peru, or maybe we can jump to another countries in Latin America. This is the only way to survive, because tourism is very sophisticated industry today. So my view is that yes, we can do it, but it's also how to connect. Unfortunately, we don't have direct flights from Indonesia to Latin America.
Yes.
Everything is to go through Australia or through Emirates or Qatar, just for giving an example. So we must learn also your own tourist industry, because Bali is receiving just roughly around 7 million, tourists every year.
Every year, yes.
So it's a beautiful example how you build challenges. Sustainability is a challenge for everywhere, not just industry meaning the hard corporate or whatever. Today in tourist industry also will be measure how you protect your environment. This is something that's growing every year because it's more sophisticated than before. So the guys are going to countries that protect, your own forest, your own wildlife or whatever, This is something that we must create a new model. This is my view. So this is a challenge for us, for the young generation, because in our case, maybe we have been moving around, especially in my case, I've been in the foreign service 36 years. So, but the next step is my children are going to places that offer something different, natural, protecting environment, protecting wildlife, that you receive soft power, food, stuff like this. So the challenge is both sides, create conditions for more sophisticated tourism.
Okay, so, but there is still possibility for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because for example, we have our desert area. It's very famous for astronomical observation.
Okay.
So we have the biggest telescope in the world, the biggest. So this is the challenge, because there are many people saying, I would like to see the stars, because I've been, moving around the world, already saw the pyramids in Egypt or whatever, so I would like to see upset. So we have a huge growing industry there. Patagonia, that's close to Antarctica, is eternal snow, rivers that are very pure. This is the challenge. For me, also, it's a challenge to understand how the industry in Indonesia is growing, because Bali is one of the spots. But President Jokowi says, I would like to construct another Balis. So this is also a challenge for us to see how we maybe can do business together. Why not? Okay. Connected people,
Okay. Yes, please.
Yes. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. My name Safrizal Akbar from. I'm executive director from Presiden Executive Club. I want to ask to you, Mr. Ambassador Gustav IRS, how to bring our relationship in education sector to become great again between Indonesia and Chile. Thank you.
Education is the driving force for development. I mean, no doubt it. And as an ambassador, he has been very tough to connect academic institution in Chile and in Indonesia. One of the things that we are trying to figure out with my colleagues of Pacific Alliance, we need to think in a different way, to be global also, meaning that maybe universities, academic institutions from Pacific Alliance, 4 countries, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile, maybe we can create one program to be connected with the institution in Indonesia. For the bottom line is language, meaning, you must learn. We can offer the possibility that we can teach Spanish. This is very wide spoken language in the world. But my view, previously I was ambassador in Japan. So my experience that institutions that are creating conditions especially for innovation, startups like this, that in Indonesia for sure, I was the other day, a month ago, I was in the Bandung Institute. I was very much impressed. So my view is that maybe we can start with, something simple that we can rely both parties, Indonesia institution and Latin American institutions. But the next step is to see the opportunities, cooperation. Just for giving an example, we are an expert in natural disasters. We have the same like you. Earthquake, volcano, tsunamis, name it, everything is there in Chile. So we have a long experience. And there is a lot of entities in Chile, universities that are very important institutions in the world regarding natural disaster. Resilience, how to rebuild our public works, stuff like this. So maybe we must identify areas, possibilities, and institutions. And not just focus in Chile. I just underline this idea. You must think in global perspective.
Okay, so the cooperation can be also in handling natural disaster. Okay, thank you very much, Your Ambassador, Your Excellency. For Pak. We have a small gift, Pak. Okay, yeah, next, please. This one on the back side.
Good morning. Can I ask a question to Mr. Bima?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Keiko. I'm from Al-Azhar University of Indonesia, and I want to ask. So you mentioned the side effect if Trump is being elected for the second time. What will happen if he's not being elected? And will our economic condition be that optimistic, or what will happen if he's not being elected? Thank you.
It's quite clear, yeah, Pak Bima. Yeah? Okay.
So we think Trump will be influence the next step of the trade war, and it's impacting not only China but also Indonesia, direct and indirectly. Because if we see that right now Indonesia is being reviewed the GSP, General System of Preference. So this is very important for Indonesia. Some of our product export to the US market, giving like almost 0% of the tariff. So if the trade war will be continue and the protectionism from the Trump is affecting all over the world, including Indonesia, so there's some chance that Indonesia facilitation of GSP will be like review, or maybe some of our product export to the US, it will be excluded from this GSP. So I think this is very important. We see closely how the US election is, because we see that if Trump is not elected, some of the problem also occur, because if not Trump elected, there will be like some candidate from the Democrat, which is creating also polarization. Because what happened in the US is, I think, you can choose extreme right and extreme left politician. The extreme right, you have Donald Trump, and we have extreme left, maybe Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Both of them have a consequence to the global economy. Look what happened if the leftists in the Democrats, let's say like Bernie Sanders and or Elizabeth Warren, win the next election in the US. Will be like the huge budget deficit. If there is a huge budget deficit, US will be increase their debt, will be increasing also the financial risks to the Indonesia economy. So there's also consequence. Trump have a consequence to Indonesia. If not Trump, also have a consequence. But the relationship between the US economy and Indonesia economy is less than 1%. So I mean, if 1% drop to the US economy, Indonesia will be impact less than like 1%. So we don't have much scenario. We also need to look about how the China will be have a changing of the diplomacy and the changing of the rule in the geopolitics. I think China is more important than the US. So we also look about what China going to do in 2020, right? So we get a broader picture about what happened to the Indonesia economy in 2020. I think that's...
Yes, Kiko, is it clear? Pak Agung, yes, please.
Thank you. One question to three speakers, for Pak Indra, Pak Bima, and also Pak Joneri. We know in the first period to be president, Pak Jokowi have issued 16 economic package policy. What do you think in the second period? Is it still important for Pak Jokowi to issue economic policy, packet policy like as in the first period? Thank you.
Pak Indra, I think first, right?
Yeah, the reform will be continued. That's for sure. And already we have seen some of them. Say in the paper today, we read that there's a confirmation from the State Secretariat that all licenses will be transferred to our office in the investment board. That's a huge step to be taken, as also as a continuation from the previous economic packages, something like that. Next will be the changing nature of the list from a negative list of investment to some sort of maybe positive. We're still working on that. How it will actually will take form, in what form. Others will be also some sort of incentive for companies. The other will be also like, for example, to encourage big investment, big companies to involve in some sort of partnership with the local SMEs. For example, for them to have their own big investment have an impact to the local economy. So those are the example of steps or reforms that will be that will be seen in the immediate futures.
Okay, thank you. Pak Jerry?
Yeah, I do agree with Pak Indra that it still be continued with the second term of the Jokowi leadership. economic is becomes a priority. So we try to translate. I mean, the Ministry from Foreign Affairs to translate the instruction from the President to all the programs, not only in Indonesia but also in our embassies in abroad, that everything should be, as I told you, should be infected with the economic benefits.
Yeah. It is economic diplomacy, yeah, Pak.
Yeah, actually, we can use. I mean, the program is about culture, about sport, about education, but don't forget that all soft diplomacies will impact to the economy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Pak Bima.
Yeah, I think there's a changing in the names in the second term of Pak Jokowi. So instead of using 16 economic packages, because some of them is work, but some of them is need to be reviewed, especially related to the fiscal incentive. We give a lot of the fiscal incentive, but our economic growth is not high enough, right? The promise is 7%, but we have a 5% economic growth. So maybe we need to review the fiscal incentive in the 16 economic packages. Too much incentive also decrease our tax potential, yes. Right? That's about double-edged sword. So we need to think the changing of the landscape of the economy need to repackaging again the solution or the policy. And we see that 2020 there will be like a global recession, 50% chance of the global economic recession. So maybe the new package, if Jokowi have a new package, will be more focusing how to tackle or mitigate the impact of the global economic recession. Maybe some more focus in some sector of the industry, not all over industry. You pick one or two industry that can be moved as an engine of economic growth, or you need to move also the small medium enterprise. I need to tell you this is very important things. If there is a crisis or global economic recession, even Indonesia is not in the recession or in the crisis, small medium enterprise will be our backbone. We'll be surviving a lot of the employment. That's why maybe the next package hopefully will be more focusing in the how small medium enterprise will be engine of the growth to survive from the global economic recession.
Okay, thank you, Pak Bima. Yes, Pak Agung. There is still also opportunity for you to raise your questions, but before that, let's enjoy this one.
This diplomatic forum is brought to you by Voice of Indonesia.
From Indonesia to the world.
Okay. Yes, listeners, ladies and gentlemen, you still with us? Diplomatic Forum. There must be something forgetting. Yati, you forget to give the gift for Pak Agung. Come on. Yes, come on. Raise your hand. Pak Widi, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Today, we surprised about Vietnam. When the China and the U.S. have a trade war, the Vietnam take gain more than Indonesia for the investment, economic growth, something like that. And for the tourists, Vietnam is running fast. Today, the Vietnam tourists is about 15 million people. Indonesia, just only 10 million people. Yeah, this is a question mark for me. Yeah, why the Vietnam can running too fast compared to Indonesia? This is why. Yeah, could you explain why the Vietnam can running fast compared to Indonesia, and why the Indonesian, yeah, when Mr. Jokowi extend 5 new destination of tourists, still cannot running fast? Is it the problem in Indonesia or the other country have a new strategic or something then when they can running fast? Thank you.
Okay.
For Mr. Bima and for the INDEF. Thank you.
Okay. Is it quite clear for Indra? I think who first? Yeah, I think investment. This is something about investment. Why Vietnam can gain, but we do not. Yeah, and also in tourism sector, right, Pak Widi? And there is actually 10 new Balis. Yeah, mentioned by Pak Jokowi. Yes. Yeah, Pak Indra.
Yeah, there are already quite a lot of insights, reviews, studies on why Vietnam is becoming the star of in the region, in almost every sectors, and to become an economic success story. They have already prepared and opening up their own economy quite some times ago. Say, for example, the establishment of foreign campus from foreign university has been maybe 10 years ago, and Indonesia is already only just beginning to open up the education sectors by inviting foreign universities to open a campus here. So, and the other aspect, in the light of mostly that the study done in the light of the current relocation from China, and why is to Vietnam, not to Indonesia. Our review, our insight shows that probably at least three things. First is they are quite close to China, so they just have to go down south and reach Vietnam.
Yes.
That's why there were some stories that one factories relocate from China to Vietnam in just 36 weeks. The whole factories. First, they are close, so people tend to trade and to do economic things with their neighbors rather than those far away. Secondly, is probably they have the same type of industries, the same taste, the same appetite. So tourists from China may be quite familiar with what is happening in Vietnam, and industries in China is also pretty similar. So it's easier for them to find the subcontractors, suppliers, and all of those in the supply chains. The third one is probably competitiveness issues. The land price is much cheaper there compared to Indonesia. The land price for industry, for example, in Indonesia is beyond $100 per square meters. There we heard, I haven't seen them for myself, but I heard it's below 100s. And also other regulatory issues like they don't have the, what you call that, the local content. If you build a factory, you have to buy locally. Here in Indonesia, they don't have that in Vietnam. So as a result, people coming in there and then create their export. So those are the competitiveness that Vietnam already established in the region. Why not Indonesia? Indonesia is probably still struggling in that, but in terms of tourism, there is also some success story for Indonesia. Manado, for example. Last year, we recorded the increased number of tourists from China. The number is from 1,200 per year to 12,000 per year to 12,000 a month. That is only because of that charter flight from Guangzhou to Manado. There's only quarter. Imagine if we open up a regular flight. All of a sudden, Manado experienced a shortage in drivers, interpreter, diving operators, and cook, chef. So they import from Bali and from Java. That boom in tourism in Manado from China is also attributable to the development of packages, tourism packages by Traveloka, Ticket.com, Booking.com, who offer affordable packages of 2,000 to 3,000 yuan. So it's very affordable. So a combination of connectivity and also development of interesting economic or tourism packages that provide a support to the tourism boom in Manado from China.
Okay, Pak Widi, I think that's quite clear from Pak Indra, right? Yeah. Next, yeah, Pak Bima.
Right. I want to tell you some funny stories Indonesia comparing to Vietnam. So I am asking the hedge fund investor from Singapore, because Singapore is the hub and number one, right? Investment from all over the world coming for number one from Singapore to Indonesia. So I'm asking the hedge fund manager, what is the difference, the basic difference between Indonesia and Vietnam? Why even not only China, but Singapore is investing more in the Vietnam right now? They're building a lot of the new industrial area. The simple answer is, if we look about the perception of corruption index between Indonesia and Vietnam, some of the component Indonesia is better than Vietnam in terms of the corruption. So Vietnam also have a problem of the corruption. But here's the difference. Vietnam is centralistic bureaucracy. So if you want to deal a business in Vietnam, and there's some of the officer asking for money, you really understand how much the number of the money you want to give to the officers. Because one of the head of the officer get the corruption, everything is done. But in Indonesia, even some of our component is better in terms of the corruption index, but you need to bribe from the village level and all over bureaucracy, right? You understand, right? So some complexity in the corruption also increasing the high cost of economy to invest to Indonesia. But if you ask him more detail about the other, for instance, about the tourism industry, I've seen some of the effect of the Vietnam diaspora. They also increase the promotion to come to Vietnam. For instance, Vietnamese living in the New York City, they inform the other neighbor that we have some nice tourist package to Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, and this is, I think, we don't have that kind of the, what do you think, like the national tourism sense. If we're going abroad, we only see that if you come to Indonesia, come to Bali. But we have a lot of the Bali, right? Yeah. So I think the key role of Indonesia diaspora, I think, is very important to increase the tourists from the foreigner to come not only to Bali, but we need to promote more the other Bali. And the other one, the last one, I think I want to add that it is funny that Indonesia have 80% more Muslim population, but if you check from the internet, from the previous event of halal product expo, Kuala Lumpur will be the first option. This is the funny things. We have a lot of the Muslim, but if you want to see the new trend of the halal food, halal fashion or Muslim fashion, we need to go to this Kuala Lumpur. From Middle East, tourists also look to that expo in Malaysia. So we need to approach the new things that all related to the Muslim or Islamic expo, halal tourism also, the place to be visited in Indonesia. That's the way we need to change our mindset, I think. Thank you.
So we need more promotion for that, Pak Bima. So
we are the victim of democracy, right?
Don't want to say that.
Okay, so I'm very interested in what Pak Bima said about the funny story about the corruption. So in Vietnam, it means that in Vietnam, if you want to ask a girl for a date, you just need to ask permission from the parents, mother and father. But here, you need the permission from the uncle, the aunt, the brother, the sister. Oh my God. Better stop dating. Okay. Yes, we still have time for questions. Raise your hand. Oh, we have many. Okay. Yes.
My name is Marsha Alicia. I am from Mustafa University. I will ask Pak Indra a question. You said Indonesia another paradise for investor, but how to make sure foreign investor invest in Indonesia? Thank you.
Oh yeah, Pak Indra.
Yeah, how to make sure that they come and invest in Indonesia? Just make them feel at home, make them more comfortable. We need to change our paradigm of promotions, of investment promotions. We usually sell our potentials. That's not enough. Now, we need to see investment promotion like going for a tour, for example. We need to give them red carpet. If we say we give them red carpet, give them red carpet, not the other color.
Yes.
We in the investment board just recently also recognize that, and one of the example is last month we invite around 59 companies from China in the furniture industries. So they arrive at the airport at midnight. So our staff be there to greet them and then escort them to the hotel. And before that, we invite them for a late supper, and then make sure they are been taken care of in the hotel. And then the following morning, we greet them and also provide them some bus to attend the business forum. After that, we escort them with bus. We pay for the bus to the Central Java to see the potential candidate for locations. And then after that, we brought them to Borobudur, and they spend quite a lot there, and they love them. So these are the things that we will do now. Give them red carpet, and also make them comfortable. That's one point. The other point is on the regulations. Make it easy for them. Make it easy for them to invest. So cut the red tape, cut the bureaucracy, and provide them with more comfortable treatments. That way, in terms of promotion, that we can probably increase their presence in the country.
Okay, thank you, Waindra. Yes, I just got a message from our listeners again, David Luresia. He says that the President Jokowi Widodo visited Argentina in the G20 summit, and I hope he can visit more countries from South America during his new presidential period. David Luresia also wants a direct flight from Santiago, de Chile to Jakarta. Would be a good idea, he said. Okay, thank you, David Luresia. Okay, next, please. Yes, on the middle.
My name is Ilsa. I'm from University of Al-Azhar, Indonesia. I will ask question to Pak Bima. So, as you have been studying about unicorn, if the amount of unicorn increases, how does it affect to Indonesian economic development? Thank you.
Okay, unicorn in crisis. Okay.
Right, so we see that some of the unicorn have a higher impact to the employment, even though we criticize because the employment they create, for instance, if we combine Gojek and Grab, they create more than 2 million drivers, right? But if we check more detail, that's 2 million drivers is in the low skill labor, right? But we need, if we want to catch up, it's not only creating like a low skill labor, which is only like the driver of the motorbikes or driver of the car, but we want to also fulfill the technology behind of the unicorns, that the higher value we have. So if we see like the the new profession, for instance, like the data analyst, big data analyst, and also cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. Behind that, the big unicorn. So we need to provide more education, more training for our graduates from the vocational school and from the university. So they prepare to fulfill this kind of the high skill labor. Because currently we also criticize some of the unicorn, they put the research and development not in Indonesia, not even in Jakarta, Bandung or Yogyakarta, but they put the research and development in Bangalore, India. Because the labor of the IT is cheaper somehow in India compared to Jakarta, but this is also a problem in the future. So unicorn increase the tax revenue, increase investment there, the direct investment for the foreigner. We have $1 billion of the investment coming from China, from Japan, from the Europe and US to inject multi-billion valuation of our startup. But still, there's some of the limited impact in terms of the employment. We don't want only the number of the employment is increased, but also the quality of that employment or new job profession. So that's, I think, my struggle, also yours challenge this year and in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Bima. Yes, next please. Still? Is there any more questions for our speaker for today? No? Okay, thank you. No? I saw something there? No? In the middle? Okay. Yeah, but we again, we have, yes, 2 million, low skills. But I think that this is not what we want, right?
Of course.
Yes, this is not what we want.
Course,
yes,
yeah.
because only low skill, it just employs. So how to make this better? I mean, moving from those low skills.
Yeah, one simple answer: we need to create more Nadiem Makarim. That's it. We want to fulfill the top, the founder of the startup, the high tech guys, the business manager guys, right?
Yes.
The future of the CEO of the startup. So not only creating low skill labor. That's our challenge we have right now. So one of the basic problem is what we teach in university, in vocational schools, is not matching with that unicorn needs, right?
Yes.
For instance, we have 100,000 graduates from the computer science in Indonesia, but the question is simple: why are they searching in the Singapore or in the India, Bangalore, for the tech guys behind the startup? So this is the basic question that we need to answer. But hopefully, the founder of the Gojek is already been our Ministry of Education. Hopefully there's some enlightenment to change the curriculum, the way we teach to our kids. So we need to fulfill the gap for the future generation, right? But we already know the problem. That's I think that's the best things we need to do right now.
Yes, so it means that it is not good for those university graduates to be, Gojek drivers, right?
So we don't see that right. We don't want to see that Gojek driver is not important. That is important for our economy, but we need to develop more high skill labor in the future.
Okay. Yes. Maybe before we come to the end of this dialogue, I need more questions. If you still have. If not, I would like to ask the closing statement from speakers for today. We start from Pak Indra first.
Yeah, despite all of that, those uncertainties, those pessimism, those what is happening in the outside world and the global economy, I still pretty much upbeat about the Indonesian economy going forward. The current actual or concrete steps taken by Jokowi's administration shows that we are justified for those optimisms. So like we have discussed, the key to this success is speed and consistency. As far as we can maintain the speed of the reform and the consistency to implement it, I think there is nothing to be afraid that Indonesia will become a better economy and also will do well in the futures. I think that is my closing statement.
Okay. Yes, Ambassador Ayares.
I would like to come back to my preliminary statement that from my point of view, this is a concept that I repeat when I've been invited to make some speech, that the 3B for me implies a whole concept. First, I would like to be global, be inclusive, innovative, because the challenge for the societies in the future will be not just trade, not natural resources, will be human resources, our population, our citizens, because if we lose the track that we are not considered them people instead of being considered customers, this is a challenge for the society. That's why we have been seeing disruption, social disruption in my country and Europe, everywhere, because it's a danger that maybe we are not offering the young generations all the opportunities. This is something when we are talking about inclusive, we are talking about gender equality, equal payment, women and men, opportunities, good education, including people that will be out of the working force sooner than later, because our next challenges with that will be ruled by an algorithm instead of governments. This is something that we must think about it, because maybe the bottom line of the discussion here is even, okay, we are dealing with trade, beautiful, we are dealing in investment, we are open economy, but the future is not there, it's here. This is the challenge. So be inclusive, be innovative. Gojek is, I love to have Tokopedia in Chile. I would love to have you Gojek in Chile. This is something, you have a model of business that will be, beautiful experience to export to the world. Yeah. Here I observe, for example, the young generation are paying, the sandwich by the QR code. In my country now, we are not still, dealing with cash. So this is something that we must learn from you. So my message is that be optimistic, because at the end, all the turbulence that we are suffering is something that the opportunity to grow, to see what are the best for us. I mean, for Indonesia, in my case also. Maybe we are focusing too much on China, maybe. Just put it on the table. Maybe we are suffering some sort of fatal attraction, maybe because China is buying, but take it easy, because we are already committed 30% of our international trade to China. But what challenges for us, for all Chilean ambassadors around the world, is that we must create new opportunities, new markets, because it's an old saying in my country, not put all the eggs in the same net. And I would like to end my words saying that beautiful experience to be here. Please invite me again, because I love it to share my views, and especially with those distinguished mates in this forum, because I think that this is the way to construct a reliable relationship, exchange views, opinion. Maybe we are not agreed on everything, but we construct consensus that we have the same ideas. My end is that I'm looking for, I'm struggling every day. Not for me, I'm struggling in my day for my children and my grandchildren. I already have 4.
Okay.
So this is the challenge, to think about the next generations.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Your Excellency. Talking about Gojek, it brings me back to a few years ago when I was in Seoul, in South Korea. One of our ministers visited Seoul at the time, and it was very surprising for me when he talked about Gojek in front of South Korean business people, because at the time I did not really know about Gojek at the time. But as he said, it's a very beautiful business. Yes, Pak Jer.
Yeah, thank you. From the beautiful discussion, I would like to say that I'm much confident about Indonesia will increase the economic as Indonesia has a very potential resource, not only human resource but also natural resource. But the challenge that I think that we don't have one single strategic to promote the economic. For example, tourism sector. Every ministries or organization or local governments have their own programs, plannings. So, what I mean, I want to have personally one strategic whole Indonesia to promote their resource. For another thing, like food, we see, let's say Thailand, we know they have poor only, but that can be a king market for the food in the world. We have
Many,
thousands, but until now we don't have what kind of food that we have to promote this one. It is only for food, fashion, tourism objects. So I would like to invite all stakeholders to think about it. We have to have one strategy to promote economic diplomacy.
Thank you. One strategy. Okay, Pak Bima?
Yeah, everyone said that Indonesia have a very huge potential, right, now and in the future, right? But we also have some challenges. We have in the next year, right, some turbulence. That's why we need to have a structural reform. Two steps of structural reform, the short-term one and in the long-term one. I agree with you. Maybe the government in the future is the government of algorithms. The government consists of mathematical, some scientific policy, for instance. So we need to understand that we have a global economic slowdown to 2020, how we tackle with that, and in the long term, how we tackle with another problem, which is demographic bonus we have in 2030. Our huge market, our huge workforce, what should be done about that one? How to make it more productive and creating the value-added industry in the future. I think that's our challenge.
Yes, thank you very much, Pak Bima. And before I make a conclusion for what are the closing statement from our speakers for today, I would like to announce that the committee of this diplomatic forum also provide some gifts. Yes, okay. So door prize, they say door prize. Yes, who takes this? We need your help. This door prize is provided by Bank Mandiri Syariah. Okay, give a class for Bank Mandiri. Yeah, Pak Indra, would you like to take one? Yes. Number 36. Okay, if you have number 36, so you deserve to get one door prize. Come on here, come on the stage. Pak Indra, okay, Pak Indra, would you like to please to provide this?
MacBook Pro, congratulations.
Okay, yes. Do we have representatives from Bank Mandiri here? No? Okay. Taking photo for this, please.
The Islamic one. State-owned enterprise, but Islamic one.
Okay, thank you, Pak Indra. Thank you, Ibu.
Not yet.
How many we have? 4? Yes, okay.
I don't think so, not yet. But you can understand.
Ambassador Ayres, your help. Thank you. 24. If you have 24, come here. 24. Is that anyone who has 24? 24. One's for 24. 2 for 24. And 3 for 24. Nobody has 24. Okay. Yes, we get a number. Another number. Number 3. If you have number 3, please come here. Yes. We have number 3 here. Okay, taking picture, please. And another one. Okay. The lucky number is number 47. 47. Is there anybody who has 47? Yeah, please come here. Yeah, Baju, need your help? $47, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay. And the last one goes to 44. Oh, okay. Yeah, Pak Bima.
This will be a TV, ya?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Pak Bima. Thank you, Ibu. So, the conclusion of our discussion, our forum for today is that we need speed to improve our economy, and gender equality from Ambassador IRS says that it is also very important for our future, and be inclusive and innovative. And then potential of sources, Pak Jo, and tourism sector need to be improved. And from Pak Bima, structural reform, we need to make structural reform for short and long term. And we also, the government of the future is the government of mathematical or sciences. And thank you very much for all my speakers here today. Give a very, yes, and also thank you for our guests, the floor. And I would like also to thank our diplomatic team, diplomatic forum team. Okay, I'm Dalat Pane. Thank you from being with us.
You've just listened to Diplomatic Forum organized by Voice of Indonesia.
From Indonesia.